Hello and welcome to this class in Speech Communication 4345, Crisis Communication. Tonight we're going to be doing things a little bit differently from some of our other classes. We have with us some students from the University of Houston Forensics Program, team members who have competed in the region as well as nationally, who have written some of their own material that I think very well portrays characterizations of people in crisis. We're going to listen to those performances in sequence. There will be brief introductions by the students as they make each of those presentations, but then we're going to be using these characterizations, these snapshots of people in crisis to look at the individuals and try to get an understanding of what a person in this particular situation is feeling, what kinds of emotions and stresses and so forth characterize that person. So my comments at this point are very brief, except to tell you that these are part of your crisis communication lecture notes for tonight, if you will, but I think that you'll be able to sit back and enjoy and at the same time learn a great deal as you meet the different characters, as you encounter the different scenarios that capture these segments of our society and these personalities of individuals in crisis. Our first presentation is by Chris Aspdal, and he'll be making further introductions for you.
And I would spend evenings with my dad, standing out on the back porch, looking up at the sky in awe of the glowing stars. And I remember my dad would kneel down and sit me on his knee, and he would look at me and say to me, "Look out there. You see all those lights? For everyone that shines out there, someone is watching over one of us down here." And I would look at him, and he would smile back at me, and we would spend the rest of the evening watching the light shows. The campaign for the presidency of 1992 was overwhelmed with the concept of family values. However, our society became so obsessed with what exactly the definition of family values was that we totally forgot about its original intent, the betterment of society. The following program, consisting of light shows by Paul Spiller, Kids Will Be by Christopher Simons, Together by Nicole Mitchell, Yesterday by W.S. Merwin, and the music of Claude Michael Schoenberg, will explore this definition of family values in hopes of a clearer understanding and that the 1996 elections may fulfill that original intent. Children today have become so very complex, and it is within these complexities that problems arise. Here, we have expulsion, confiscated weapons, teenage pregnancies, dropouts, a continuing decline in our educational process. Parents' night. Families come in and then they leave. And at the back of the room, 2 chairs sit empty. A demonstration of the love 2 parents share for 1 child. History has taught us that by doing right to others, we shall in return receive that rightness back. I fear that our children are giving to us no more than we are giving to them. Young, vibrant, spunky, full of life, and filled with questions my parents really didn't know how to answer. How were babies made? Well, son, go ask your father. I was a little shit. I already knew the answers. Got more than maps out of National Geographic. Family nights. Fun-filled evenings of Monopoly, movies, munchies, music, and madness. If you're into that sort of thing. Me, I hated it, but it was something we had to do. And now that I look back on it, I'm kind of glad we did. sometimes when my parents are fighting and the shouting and the yelling get too loud, I go to my room and I close the door and I dream. There is a castle on a cloud. I like to go there in my sleep. Aren't any floors for me to sweep? Not in my castle on a cloud. And in my dreams, I am happy. And in my dreams, there is peace. And in my dreams, I'm a daddy. And I dress my kids in all sorts of bright, happy colors, shades of reds and blues and oranges and greens. And we sing songs. And we play games. And we dance outside in the mist of a Sunday afternoon shower. Together. And in my dreams, there is no fighting. And in my dreams, there is no pain. And in my dreams, there is no fear. Only love. There is a castle on a cloud. Oh, those wonderful teenage years. Soap operas filled with stories about pimples, puberty, fast cars, and faster girls, all of which I had no participation. See, my days of post-adolescence were filled with hours of asking my questions such subjects as, why do I need a job? Is there more to life than homework? Mom, Dad, can I stay out past 10 o'clock at least once for a change? And of course the big one, just what exactly is a condom? To which my dad would turn an immediate shade of crimson and say to me, oh, well, son, go ask your mother. Those were good times. Family, shared moments. My friend says I wasn't a good son, right? He says to me that I didn't go visit my parents very often, you know. He says that even when we was living in the same city, I'd visit him maybe once, twice a month, sometimes even less. He tells me that the last time I went to see my father, he says, the last time I went to see my father, and I said, the last time I went to see my father, he was asking about my life, you know, how I was making out. And he gets up and he goes in the next room to get something for me, and he comes back and he stands in the doorway and he says to me, he says, you know, I would like you to stay and talk to me. I would like that. But if you feel like you have some place to go or something to do, I don't want you to feel like you have to stay. And I look out the window, get up, and I walk right out that door. And that was the last time I ever saw my father. And I can remember to this day all the moments we shared. The weekend outings, family nights, the questions, how are babies made? And I look out there at all those lights and I think to myself, how one of them must be him. And I remember when my dad would kneel down, sit me on his knee, and tell me to look out there. I mean, you see all those lights? For everyone that shines out there, someone is watching over one of us down here. Well, I like to think that that one is mine. Because it shines the brightest. See, I was always one of those kids that everybody loved, but nobody ever knew. Quiet and subdued, I decided that I was going to become something in life. And it was at that point that I dedicated my life to the song. Well, you know the one. Oh, I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener. See, I longed to be a hot dog. I don't think too many people have truly taken the time to consider the possible potentials of an individual becoming a financially successful sausage. See, I was going to be the world's greatest wiener. But my dreams never came true. And so I settled for the next best thing. And I became a musician. According to Psychology Today, July 1994, an alarming number of individuals between the ages of 25 and 45 are having to give up their careers, go back home, and resume the responsibilities of maintaining a household. This new generation of baby boomers is called the sandwich family, where an individual is sandwiched between the responsibilities of caring for the younger child as well as the older parent. Such is the case with Oscar by Justin Irvin. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. Now, granted, it's probably not the greatest story you've ever heard in your life. Believe it or not, there are no pink elephants or little boys flying around in green tights wishing they'd never grow up. What I have is just a story. And judging from the fact that you haven't put this book down yet, I guess you're willing to hear it. So here it goes. I guess you could say for me it started when I was in high school. You see, I suffered from this terrible disease, BD, band disease. See, I loved music. It was my life. Who'd have ever thought that I could actually make a career out of it? I mean, isn't that everybody's goal in life? To actually make money doing the one thing in this world you long to do more than anything else. I was going to be the next Copland, Brahms, Stravinsky, David Lee Roth. Hell, I didn't care as long as it had to do with music. I was a dreamer. I admit it. But like so many things in this world, our dreams don't always come true. And reality fills that void where those dreams once were. Let me introduce my family to you. My dad, the 63-year-old stallion, who still insists that even though his bowels have given out on him and the hair in his ears is about as long as that on top of Cher's head, he can still hang with the best of them when it comes to picking up chicks. My mom, who thinks Neil Diamond is the second coming of our great Savior, Jesus Christ. My brother, the 25-year-old alcohol-drinking, cigarette-smoking, ivy-shooting, 15-year-old girl-screwing son of a bitch. No hard feelings. And then there's my sister, who's just psycho. There's also my ex-wife, who left me because I didn't make enough money as a musician, and my two wonderful children, who my wife left with me when she took off with some big-shot engineer. You know, sometimes life has this really bad habit of pulling its pants down between its legs and taking a tremendous dump on your head. So I had to take time out of my own life to help those less fortunate than me, if you can believe that's possible. And now I live at home, age 21, lifeless, sexless, and pretty damn hopeless. with my family. Now, this is the last time I'm going to tell you. You will sit there and you will eat every last bite on that plate and you will not complain about it anymore. Is that clear? My dad thinks he's too good to eat the food I serve him. I try to explain to him that people in third world nations are starving to death, killing each other off for a single bite of food, to which I usually get the response, then send it airmail, and the food goes flying across the floor, where little Courtney scoops up the mashed carrots, makes a beeline for the television, and gives Annie Potts a facelift that would scare the shit out of Stephen King. You know, sometimes I wish I was invisible. That way no one could ever find me. And whenever it came time to hand out disciplinary actions, I'd just let everybody have it out with each other till one person was left to pay the funeral costs of everyone else. So it's at times like these that I like to imagine. And as I stand here and gaze out the window, well, I imagine myself in the middle of a symphony orchestra. And I close my eyes. And as the kids run across the floor, I can feel the thunder of the basses and the cellos. And the plate that just crashed in the background becomes the crashing of the cymbals. And as my daughter begins to shriek at the top of her voice, the violins build with intensity. And the noises and the commotion that surround me become part of that symphony orchestra. And I direct that metamorphosis of thunderous lows and shrieking highs. And I just listen. And when the music is over, usually because somebody hits me upside the head with a runaway shoe, I am forced to go back into my own world, where I have to face the hard truths about my own life. I mean, between the piss-soaked couch where my brother left his mark because he was too drunk to get off his ass and go to the bathroom, to my daughter crying because my son crying because his own friends won't let him play with his own Nintendo, between the fights at the grocery store, between my father and my daughter when Dad decides to sneak a box of Cocoa Puffs into the grocery cart when little Courtney wants a box of Fruit Loops, between the fighting and the nagging and the arguing, between it all I stand. See, I want my own life. I am tired of being everybody's father, brother, mother's cook, chauffeur, slave. I want to be my own individual. I would like to be able to get up in the morning and go to work and to come home and to relax. I want to be happy. Is that too much to ask for? But this is just a story, right? You take with it what you want and throw the rest of it away. I have created my whole life through music. And whether that music be rock, pop, jazz, country, western, classical, elevator, I don't care. But of the thousands upon thousands of songs that I have heard and performed, there is one that will remain with me always. Oh, I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener. That is what I truly long to be. 'Cause if I was an Oscar Mayer wiener, everyone would be in love. It would be nice. Hi, my name is Sharon, and I'm a sexual compulsive. Oh, God, that felt good. I feel like I'm already on my way. I mean, admitting you have a problem is the first step to healing, right? At last. For the first time in my life, I feel like I don't need a man to define who I am. Hi there. Hi, my name is Dave, and I'm a sexual compulsive. I just love sex. I think maybe it's because I got an erection 24 hours a day. Hi, my name is Jeffrey, and I'm just like you. According to pornographic film star Miss Lindsay Love from an interview on the Maury Povich Show, when asked the question about her most recent sexual encounter, the only response she could give was, sex, sex, sex. Stop having sex. Playwright Paul Rudnick would seem to suggest the same thing. In a society so concerned with sexually transmitted diseases, monogamous relationships, and ultimately the transmission of the disease AIDS, the only logical conclusion would seem to be stop having sex. Or in the case of Jeffrey, to find a loving and lasting relationship. Jeffrey, by Paul Rudnick. Steve, Jeffrey, Jeff. Is there something wrong with your voice? I'm sorry, I was just kind of lowering it to seem a little bit more masculine. I'm sorry. No, really don't be. We all do it from time to time, and change our voices to seem sexier. I might be doing it myself right now. Technically, we haven't even met yet. Steve. Jeffrey. Okay, confession time. You know those articles? All the ones those right-wingers use? The ones that talk about gay men having sex with over 5,000 partners? Well, compared to me, they're shut-ins, wallflowers. But I'm not promiscuous. I mean, that's such an ugly word. I'm cheap. I just love sex. I mean, but what's going on nowadays? I mean, you saw, things just aren't what they were supposed to be. I mean, sex was never meant to be fatal or negotiated or safe. So from now on, no more sex. Oh, I'll find some substitute for it. Sex light, sex helper. I can't believe it's not sex. But no more sex. Jeffrey, Steve, did you? Yes, I did. Great. I know. It's not the first time it's happened. I mean, you freaked. You got cold feet. Like, I can understand. Like I said, it's not the first time it's happened. I can understand about the HIV thing. Great, Steve. Look, look, don't worry about it. Look, I mean, you should have told me. I did sooner, before things happened. Oh, before I kissed you? Yes. So you didn't have all the information. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. I've been HIV positive for about 5 years now. I was sick at one time. My T cells are better, and every now and then I get really tired of being a person who has AIDS, a red ribbon. So sometimes I forget. Sometimes I choose to forget. Can you understand that at all? Yes. Then can I forget again? No. Is there something I can do? Something that I can say that will make this happen? Jeffrey, I want you. I very well may even be in love with you, and that means nothing. That should mean everything. That should win. Look, I am sorry. Apology accepted. am not here as a priest or a guru or as any sort of religious leader. I am just someone who likes to talk. And people come to me and they say, Deborah, I'm in love with an alcoholic and I do not know what to do. And I tell them, do not look to me for answers. You must look to yourself. You must find that source of unending love. You must search out that all-encompassing love. You must seek that everlasting, unending, all-encompassing love that will help you to say, fuck you, get out of my house until you stop drinking. Let's have some questions now, shall we? Are you following me? Yeah, I always follow men into the clinic. So, how have you been? Still positive? Darn okay. And what brings you to St. Vincent's high-profile outpatient facility? White sale, blood test. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. I'm HIV positive and obnoxious. What is it with you? Oh, I don't know. Being here, seeing you. What do you care? Stop being so compassionate. No one's watching. I'm sorry. Guess I'm just feeling a little manic today, that's all. And being a jerk. Did you want to go first? Jeffrey, I am not here to see the doctor. Surprise. Now, I'm on my way up to the 10th floor to see the AIDS babies. You see, the last time I was there were 8 of them. And they had all either been abandoned or their parents had died. And the nurses were all too sick or too afraid to touch them. And they just laid there, didn't even move. But when I held one of them, she began to gurgle and coo and act like a baby should act. We're all AIDS babies, Jeffrey. I don't want to die without being held. Two nights ago, I was at the ballet with 2 of my friends, and it's the Nutcracker, and it's intermission. And we're walking down this wide marble staircase, and Darius falls. And he just tumbles over and pitches forward, and he keeps tumbling down the stairs, and his legs are all bent up, and Jesus Christ, he's a dancer. And he's so dehydrated from some fucking AIDS drug that he can't even stand up straight. And all the parents are standing around screaming and shouting about all the blood in their kids, and we get him into an ambulance and get him home. But I have been walking around for the past 48 hours, and all I keep thinking to myself is, my God, what if that was Steve? But how can you love someone and watch this happen? I need to ask you a favor. I'm here. If I asked you to, could we have sex tonight? Safe sex, any kind of sex. On top of the Empire State Building? That's fine, look, wherever. Don't do this to me, Jeffrey. I will not be your good deed. No, I don't want some good deed. I don't want a red ribbon. I want you, Steve. No, wait. Did I wake up this morning and my horoscope say to me, oh, you will meet this incredibly fucked up guy. Happiness is impossible. Go for it. Yes. Yes. Yes.
routine. Wake up, get in the shower, get out of the shower, dry off, wash my face, and I shave. And I look in the mirror, stark raving naked. I look in the mirror, and I freeze. And I focus. A growing desensitization is occurring in today's society, whether it be leukemia, multiple sclerosis, or even the common cold. We are taught through the media to diagnose the problem, label the problem, and then forget about the person behind the problem. Marcus Coleman, through his poetry, simply entitled Focus, asks us to delve into the thoughts, the feelings, and even the fears of someone dying. Focus, by Marcus Coleman. Afternoon routine. Get out of bed, walk to the kitchen, take medication, pill. Go to the bathroom, pill. Look in the mirror, pill. And I focus. Pill. Not on the outside, because God knows that ain't too pretty, but on the inside. You see, I go deep inside myself, look beyond my soul, and I find my will to survive. And I say, Will, you're going to have to be real strong if we're going to make it through this day. And he just looks at me and he says, okay. And then I know I can continue with my evening routine. Go to the bathroom, wash my hands, feed the cat, go to bed, and rest. And dream about the times when I was a little kid. And I didn't need to rest. I just lie in bed in my superhero underoos, dreaming of the day that I could capture evil villains. You know, I bet I was the only kid on the block who owned every pair of superhero underoos. Well, I had my favorites. Superman. Because he was the ultimate superhero. Aquaman would swim through the seas. I would talk to sharks or to dolphins. And occasionally, I'd get a stingray to zap my little brother. But then, there was the ultimate of them all. Wonder Woman. I mean, she was the ultimate superhero. Fast, strong, attractive, intelligent, always a good dresser, indestructible. But as you get older, you realize even Superman won't always live. So now I have a new superhero. One that is superior to all the rest. The ultimate of the ultimates. Wonder Woman. Because she was a superheroine and overcame the sexist labels of a superhero. Because she was from the South American Amazon and could still speak perfect English. But above all this, she had the one thing in this world that I dreamed of. Her invisible jet. To fly high above the world and never have to fear. To be encompassed by a clear, invisible, indestructible barrier. To never have to worry about the evil villains attacking her with bombs or needles or knives or doctors or drugs. Or disease. Or dying. And then my happy little world of superhero underoos disappears. And I continue with my morning routine. Wake up, get in the shower, get out of the shower, dry off, wash my face, and I shave. I look in the mirror, and I focus. You see, my life has been reduced to a hamster who runs on his treadmill. I mean, doctors, physicians, nurses all tell me the same thing. It is rare. There are no definitive cures, only treatments. And so all I am left to do is walk around my house, stare at myself in the mirror, and blindly dream of the day that I can go outside safely. I want to be stung by a bee. I want a paper cut. I want to step on a nail, something. Something to let me know what it is I am dying from. But the only sure answer I get is that your life expectancy is short. So all I am left to do is continue with my afternoon routine. Get out of bed, walk to the kitchen, take medication, pill. Look in the mirror, pill. And I focus. You see, my life has been reduced to a hamster running on a treadmill. I am a human being who has thoughts, ideas, and emotions. And all I'm left to do is dream of Underoos adventures. And I stare at myself in the mirror, look deep inside myself, beyond my soul. And I find my will to survive, and I say, Will, you're going to have to be real strong if we're going to make it through this day. And he just looks at me and he says, okay. And then I know I can continue. Oh, shit. It's 8:30 in the morning. I was supposed to be at work at 7. I've got this big report due on the boss's desk. Okay. Think. Best thing to do would be to get out of bed, get dressed, go downstairs, out the door, and off to work. Okay, here I go. I'm out of bed. I'm getting dressed. I'm down the stairs. Sorry, honey. No morning glory for you. Psychologists tell us it can happen at least 6 times a day on the average. It can happen at work, on the phone, even at your best friend's house. Of course, the concept I'm talking about is that of leaving. Psychologists tell us it's important for us to understand exactly why it is and where we go when we leave. So in examining the poetry, 25 Ways to Say Goodbye by Darius Coleman, the prose, Leaving Life by Ashley Sokol, and finally, the dramatic monologues provided by Departures Unlimited from Marcus, we can examine the concept of leaving and understand exactly why it is and where we go when we leave. Ciao. Hasta luego. Auf Wiedersehen. I'm gonna jet. Aloha. You know, being a traveling salesman, you never think you're going to be the same thing, see the same thing twice. I mean, you go from one town to another, never to return. You go from one door to another, never to return. Especially the ones that get slammed in your face. But the other day, the strangest thing happened to me. You see, I'm on the bus, and it's about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and I get off of the bus, and there's this dog. And he's just looking at me. And I think, well, one of his owners has got to be on the bus, so I continue with my walk home. Well, after a while, I get a little curious. And I look back, and that dog is still there. And I think, hell, one of his owners has got to be in the crowd. It's no big deal, right? Well, a little while later, this crowd, well, it disappears. And I think to myself, and I get a little curious, and I look back, and that dog is still there. And I think if that dog is smart enough to follow me through that entire crowd, it's smart enough to find out where I live. So I think the best thing for me to do in this situation is lose the dog. So I begin running down the road. I look back, and the dog's still behind me. So I make this B-turn down the corner, and there that dog is. So I make this S-turn around these two buildings, and that dog is gone. So I think the best thing for me to do in this situation is get to my house before that dog finds me again. And you'll never believe it. I get to my house, and there's that dog sitting on my porch with my paper in its mouth looking at me saying, "Hey, dumbass, don't you know where you live?" And I look down at this dog, and, well, it's cute. It's got this little black eye. So I take him inside. Now the only hard part is when I have to leave that dog in the morning to go to work. I'm out of here. I'm going. Don't try to stop me. Screw you! Well, I guess you could say it started about 3 months ago. You see, I'm sitting in my chair and I'm watching Jeopardy on the TV, and my wife walks in and she says, "Honey, dinner's ready." And I don't know why, but I just got really pissed off. You see, every afternoon at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she walks in and she says, "Honey, dinner's ready." I mean, how monotonous can you get? So I decided, about 3 months ago, that I was going to have to work late. And that while I was working late, I'd be doing a little extra business, going to bars or to nightclubs or anywhere where she wasn't. Yeah. Sometimes I'd talk to women. I'd say, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" And they just look up at me and they say, "Yeah, sure, how you doing?" But you want to know what I heard? I heard, "Honey, dinner's ready." And so I've decided that this week when I have to work late, I ain't ever coming back. I guess you could say it started about 3 months ago. See, my husband, he works downtown in one of those big high-rise buildings. He's moving up that corporate ladder, and he said he was going to have to start working late in order to get some extra work. Well, every afternoon at 5 o'clock, I have dinner on the table. You know, I try to be a good wife. But it seems like every week he comes home later and later. So about 4 weeks ago, I started going out to bars or to nightclubs, anywhere where there were people. And about a week ago, I met a guy named Bill. And we started talking. And I've decided that this week, when my husband has to work late, I'm moving in with Bill. So long. I'll miss you. You take good care of yourself, you hear? I love you. Well, my brother's been sick for a while, and I haven't got to spend a lot of time with him since he's been in the hospital. And I got the afternoon off, and I thought the best thing for me to do would be to go and see him. So I stopped by the local Toys R Us, grabbed the nearest game I could see, and I headed out the door. And when I pushed the hospital room open, I saw my brother. And he had all these tubes running in, going out. All these different colors. I thought, my God. And I just went up to him and I said, hey, bud, how's it going? And he looked up at me and he tried to speak, but the medicine or the phlegm in his throat, I'm not sure which, but he couldn't say anything. I said, no, that's okay. Look, I'm here to spend the entire afternoon with you, and I got you this game. And I handed him the game, and he just got this big smile on his face. You see, it was the game of life. Well, it's kind of ironic. We played the game a couple of times, and I let him win, and that's when my beeper went off. And it had 911, so I knew it was an emergency. So I go outside to the payphone, and it's work, and they say they need me, that one of the guys didn't show up, and I'm the assistant manager, and I have to be there. So I go in, and I say, hey, Bud, I've got to go to work. One of the guys, they didn't show up, and it's my responsibility, it's my duty. But I tell you what, tomorrow I'll spend the entire day with you. And he looked up and he tried to say something, but he couldn't. And so I just went to work. And about 15 minutes while I'm at work, I get this call. And I'm driving to the hospital, and I'm thinking, I had to go, right? It's my responsibility. It's my duty. And then I thought, no. He was your responsibility. He was your duty. He's your little brother, for God's sake. And I push open the door. And there are no more tubes. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, Bud, I'm sorry. God, I would have died if he had tried to say anything at that moment, but... And I thought, that is the ultimate departure. That of leaving life. Well, I guess the best way to say goodbye is just like this. Bye.
Yep, I play the game. Gets me away from the woman, know what I mean? Cause y'all is bitches about it. You and that damn weekend warrior crap. I tell her it's my means of escape. See, we have these guns. Tend to shoot each other. Of course, no one ever gets hurt. Unless, of course, you count that incident with Enos and that family of squirrels. Oh. You see, the secret is to survive. You got to get them before they get you, right? Now, the key to survival is that you don't get hit. From the time of conception, no single concept on this earth has concerned our lives more than that of survival. And the key to survival is that you don't get hit. Street gangs, AIDS, drugs, prostitution, divorce, even the constant questioning of near-death experiences and what awaits us in the afterlife. The concept of survival has affected us all our lives. The following program, consisting of poetry, prose, and drama, will explore this concept of survival and see how it affects us now and ever after. A program on survival. I saw God. Well, of course, he's not like everyone makes him out to be. See, he's much more down to earth, so to speak. You see, he wears this plaid suit and speaks in this really bad Italian accent. And the thing about the light, you know, the one you're supposed to walk toward, it's all a scam. It's more like this big sidewalk painted in all sorts of bright colors. God's into colors. And on the sides, there's like these trees, you know, with fruit. And then they brought me back to the pain and the whites and grays of the hospital. George Melton, age 40. I felt it was a time for a celebration of life. See, age has been a gift for me because it presented clear choices. Live or die. At last, my life finally has a purpose. Out here on the streets, you don't trust no one. Not even your closest friends, because they'll sell you out, man. For drugs, food, money, a place to sleep. It doesn't matter. Out here, the word on the streets is survival. Because that's all you can do. Survive. Like the cosmic aura surrounding my eternal being has told me that I was meant well in a former life. I guess it's why I'm so mindless in this one. Om on the range. Michael Leonard, age 47. Why am I doing so well? Well, it's not because of medicines, because I haven't taken any pharmaceutical drugs for over 7 years now. It's not because of doctors, because I haven't empowered them to run my life. You know, I think it's because I haven't got time to die. It takes too much work. You know? My mom told me that if I kept on picking my nose, I'd come back in another life as a slug. You know? My mom told me that if I kept on cracking my knuckles, that I'd come back in another life as a cashew. And you know? My mom told me that if I kept on biting my fingernails, that I'd come back in my next life as a crab. And I just, you know? I think my mom spent a bit too much time thinking in a former life. So she came back to this one as a vegetable. Gary Brown, age 45. See, I'm not ready to die. I'm the kind of person who can adapt to anything. I'm cut off my leg and I'll be depressed a couple of days, but by the end of the week I want to get a prosthesis. See, I can't die until my body says it's over. And it's not saying that to me now. I've often been asked the question, have I ever failed anyone before? Which is a pretty interesting question concerning the line of work I'm in. I mean, people come and then they go. Some get out, some go right back in. I try to show these people that they can be more than just lonely souls who wander the streets selling their bodies for drug money. I mean, there's so much more to life. You know you're successful when you can feel the love of just one person reflect back onto you. Have I ever failed anyone? No. Life is worth living, isn't it? And if I can show just one person this, then I haven't failed. These people will fight. They will struggle. They will overcome obstacles. But when all things come to an end, there is only one thing that matters: survival. And these people will survive. When I come back in my next life, well, I think it's going to be a dandelion. Oh, you can come back as a flower. There's no law that says you can't. You see, I don't look at it as a weed. I see only beauty. The color, the smell, the feel. But most of all, no matter how many times you cut it down, it will always grow back. It has an incredible will to survive. Ten, 9, 8. The countdown has begun. 7, 6, 5. Something must be done. 4, 3, 2, 1. Will we ever learn? It begins when we are children and grows through adolescence until it escalates into a full-blown disease by the time we reach adulthood. Racism, bigotry, homophobia, sexism, whatever the word is we use, it all boils down to one simple concept: hate, which stems from adolescence and grows into violence. In his collection of poetry simply entitled Time, Raymond Blanchard asks us the question, will we ever learn? Because the countdown has begun and time is running out. 10, 9, 8. The countdown has begun. Excuse me, sir, but could you spare me a piece of bread, please? My name is Carl. No food to eat. No bed to sleep in. No one to love. As people drive by in their heated cars, they shout profanities out the window at me. Hey, asshole, get a job! I had a job once, but I was fired, dismissed, let go because of who I was and what I stood for. You see, I was an individual, a person who stood on my own. So here I stand, alone. You know, there's been many words used to describe me. Bum, street rat, scum, trash, but of all these words, there's just one that I choose to use. Just one word that defines who I am and what I stand for. And that word is human. A body of flesh and bones and thoughts and ideas and emotions. But here I stand. No food to eat. No bed to sleep in. No one to love. So could you please spare me a piece of bread? No. I didn't think so. Seven. The number one disease in the nation today. Sounds like a top 40 countdown. Number 30, Ryan Stevens. Number 26, Emily Preston. Hey, we're counting down the biggest hits of the past 30 years, and we won't stop till we hit the top. People are dropping like flies. And we continue to count down the statistics as if they were songs on a chart. Number 12. Number 12 was my brother. Number 8 was my best friend. And they weren't gay, and they didn't use drug IVs, and they weren't hemophiliacs that required blood transfusions, and they didn't get it from the wind. They were people. Just like you and me. Six. Well, it started when Adam Rasmussen told Sarah Tomlinson that I wet the bed in my sleep, and I said, "You're a liar, and you better take that back." But he wouldn't. And then he went and he told Cindy McCarthy that my mom worked at the local Jiffy Lube and cooked neighborhood pets for dinner, and I said, "You're a liar, and you really better take that back." But she wouldn't. And then he went and he told Daniel Alvarez that my dad belongs to this secret club where they run around a campfire naked listening to that achy breaky Billy Ray Cyrus song as they shot rubber bands in the air and chanted things like "Free the South African dung beetle," or some junk like that. And I said, "You're a liar, and if you don't take that back, you're going to be sorry." But he wouldn't. And he said to me, he said, "So what you going to do about it?" And I hit him. 5. Estos son mis premios de honor. These are my scars. Prizes of honor that I have earned. This one. This is where my mother threw a glass at me for failing a history test. I tried to explain to her that it is difficult to understand the language, but all she says to me is, "Quiero que le pongas más esfuerzos en tus estudios." I want you to study harder. This one. Oh, this is where my father slammed me against the wall and punched me in the face because I was late coming home once. This one. Oh, this is where the policeman shot at my brother and missed because they thought he was dealing drugs, because of the way he looked, because of the way he talked, because of the color of his skin. This one. This one was the most painful. It was when my family turned their backs on me. So I made a new family of compadres. We roam the barrios together and rule the streets because that's all we have left. So when I hear mothers and fathers and lawmen and newsmen ask themselves, "What do we need to do to stop the violence in the streets?" all I can say is, "Man, you people just don't get it, do ya?" You see, this is my familia. Mis compañeros, mis hermanos, you people forced me into this life with your English-speaking educators and your high-class lawmen. So when you ask yourselves, what do you need to do to stop the violence in the streets, you stop! And you ask yourselves why you started it in the first place. Something must be done. Stop. And ask yourselves why you started it in the first place. 4. And he said to me, so what you going to do about it? And I hit him. 3. They were people. Just like you and me. 2. Human. 1. Will we ever learn?
Thank you very much. I hope that you who have been listening to this will agree with me that these were most excellent performances. We thank the forensics team, Chris, the captain, who did the first 3 presentations, the last 2, Jason Cryer, who did the other 2 performances. In this class, we've been talking about situational crises, about maturational crises. I hope as you reflect on the performances that you've heard today, you'll think about which of these instances were avoidable, which of these things could have been changed, what kinds of things could have been done differently to avoid the frustration, to reduce the hatred, to take away some of the pain. In other instances, the character portrayals that you've seen are the result of situational circumstances. Sometimes they're the result of maturational crises. There are some of those things that just come along in life that we don't have any choice about. And we have to deal with those in the best way that we can. You saw some of those difficult choices that some of these characters that were presented, some of the choices that they had to face. And they weren't easy choices. Sometimes they're very painful choices. But as we're clarifying crises, as we attempt to stabilize situations, as we look at and identify action plans that we can use to hopefully make the situation better, we need to look at those kinds of questions and say, what kinds of choices do we have? Is there a reason why this crisis happened today rather than some other time? Is there a reason why this crisis happened to me rather than to someone else? And sometimes there's a clear answer, and we can say, yes, these are the things that I did wrong, and if I would use some advanced planning and some primary intervention, I could avoid that sort of situation the next time. There are other times that life just dumps on you, as Chris so aptly put it earlier for us. And we simply don't have any choices about those, and so we're dealt that hand, we're dealt that situation, and we have to deal with it as the situation dictates and go on from there. Many of you who are enrolled in this class are probably starting to think about your term projects, about your term papers. Replay this tape. if you need to. And think about the different kinds of personalities that you've seen, the different characters that you've seen, the different kinds of crises that have been portrayed here today. And then look at those as potential research areas. Is this an area that you would like to delve into more? We heard a discussion that related to gangs. That's a potential area for study, for investigation. We've empathized with patients who had AIDS. We've empathized with the patient with the unknown disease, but nevertheless was just as much in distress and crisis as an identifiable disease. Perhaps looking at the dying process. We have a unit on death and dying and bereavement and personal loss. Several of the themes that you've seen today have tied into this notion of personal loss. And so is there some way that you would like to tie into that topic and investigate it more? We looked at Chris's portrayal of the sandwich family. Part of that situational, part of it's a function of life. Most of us have no idea where we're going to be come midlife or later in life. And here is this character who is caught in these stresses between raising children and taking care of older parents, trying to deal with these things. This is another possible area that you might want to look into. So all of these are possibilities. Again, we express our appreciation to Jason and to Chris and to the coaching staff also who helped them succeed in doing so well. Mr. Ron Ragston is the Assistant Director of Individual Events at the University of Houston. Dr. Michael Fain travels with the squad as the Director of Individual Events. I look after them to be sure they behave themselves, but Ron and Mike do a lot of the individual coaching, and so we thank all of them for making this special presentation in the class possible.